This is what you will have when you're done assembling your automatic dice roller. You will have the main body and 2 lids. It takes approximately 30 minutes to assemble. There's links in bio for all the components. There's also links for the STL files so you can print your own. Feel free to pause the video as we go along when you're assembling your own automatic dice roller. For the assembly of the automatic dice roller, we need some 3D printed parts. We need 2 M3 nuts. We need a motor. We need a female jack connector. We need a M3 screw. We need battery contacts. We need a 10 by 10 centimeter piece of felt. We need wires. We need switches, some super glue. We need some tools and an M6 string. Here we have all the printed parts you need to make your own automatic dice roller. We have a closed lid. We have an open lid. We have a shell. We have a vibration plate. We have a bottom. And we have a vibration disc. All the STL files can be found in the links in the description below. As a start, we need the bottom and we need a knife to open the battery compartment. Here you simply have the small indent where we need to insert the knife, and then you can break it up. This can be a little tricky, but it's doable. When you have the battery compartment open, we need the battery switches. We have a long one and we have 2 small ones. The long one has to be inserted into the long gap. In the long gap we have a mark, a long square, which indicates that the spring has to go to that side. We then just insert it, like so, and press it in. Here you can use a knife again. It has to be pressed all the way to the bottom of the print. On the other side we have 2 holes. Here we need to insert the 2 small battery contacts. The one without the spring has to be on the opposite side of where we have the spring. These also need to be pressed all the way into the print. Like so. And you will look something like this. Nice. Then you can close the lid. Then we'll take the screw, insert it here, take a screwdriver. Here you need to make your own thread, so it can be a bit hard to screw in the beginning, but it'll go nice and flush when screwed in. Now when we have the battery contacts in, we need the activation contacts. Here we have 3. They need to go into the 3 holes in the bottom. Just insert it so it's flush with the bottom of the 3D print. Then you take the corresponding nut, plastic nut, and screw it on. Here you can use a wrench to tighten the screw and the nut. And do not over tighten, because that will break the plastic nut. It's not so strong. This you need to repeat 3 times. When you're done, it will look like this. Then buttons are flush with the bottom and cannot wiggle around because you have tightened the nuts sufficient. For this, you need the vibration disc, 2 M3 nuts and super glue. In a vibration disc we have spots, 4 spots for the nuts. You simply make a dot of super glue into 2 spots, and then you place the nuts into the print, like so. The next step is to attach the felt onto the vibration plate. This can be a little bit messy because we have to use spray glue. Here I have an old pizza box that I have opened up and I use for controlling this glue. Place the felt on the thing. You then have your glue, then you spray it on. Then you wait 5 seconds for the glue to evaporate a little bit. Then you take your vibration plate and place it in the center, like so. And you can lift it up. See, it's nice and flush with the plate. Then you take your corners and you bend them in. When you have folded the felt around the plate, just like this, you need to make sure the gap between the 2 hills here are pressed all the way to the bottom. This gap is to make sure the plate is not rotating when assembled on the bottom. Next up, we need to sand the motor to make sure the glue is sticking enough to the parts that it has to stick to. First we sand the shaft so it's ready to have the vibration disc glued on, and then we sand the flat sides. Like so, to make sure it sticks to the vibration plate. The next step is to take the motor we just sanded and see if the vibration disc in the small hole right there is aligned and can be assembled without glue. So just like this. We want the motor and the disc to sit like this, approximately 2 millimeters from each other, so do not press it all the way in. Then we take it off again. We take our super glue, put a little dab in the hole. There's not much needed, just a little bit, like this. You can't even see it, I think. Then you take the motor, just attach it on the shaft, like this. And then you'll have a little bit of glue sticking out. So that's nice. For the next step, we need the vibration plate with the felt. We need the motor with the vibration disc, and we need the glue again. We need to take care of the direction of the motor. We have a mark on the vibration plate right there. This mark indicates the shaft. So the shaft has to go like this, with the terminals pointing towards the center of the plate. Then we take some glue, glue it on the insides of the plate here. Then we take the motor, again with the terminals pointing towards the center and the shaft at the dot. And then you just press it in to the snap. And then move it a bit around. Then you press the sides to make sure the glue is sticking to the motor. You want to have approximately the motor in the center of this snap. Next up, we need wires. We need 3 wires of 60 millimeters, 5 wires of 80 millimeters, and 1 wire of 110 millimeters. They all need to be stripped of insulation in both ends, approximately 5 millimeters. Now we need to solder 2 wires onto the battery contacts. So we take a soldering iron. We start with the 60 millimeter wire. Use a clamp here to hold it. I have used an old cardboard box to make sure I can hold the bottom of raffle. And then I simply solder it on to the battery contact on the negative side. Then I take the 110 millimeter wire, again use the clamp here to hold it, and place it at the positive side. And I simply solder again. So just like so. So you have the long wire sticking up out from the plus terminal, and the short wire sticking so we can connect it to the button over here from the negative terminal. The next step is a little tricky. We need the 5 wires of 80 millimeters, and then we need the 2 wires we just soldered on the battery contacts. We will here show a picture of how it should look. We put 3 wires in one terminal on this contact. Then we solder it. For the other terminal on this contact, we need the one from the negative side of the battery, and then one for each contact, like so. Now we have 2 wires going to this contact, 2 wires going to this contact, and then 2 wires that have to be connected to the motor in a later step. Now we will solder on the wires to the 2 contacts. So it have to look like this. If you have no need for a 0-1 input, then you can skip this step. But if you need it, we need the 2 final wires of 60 millimeters, and we need a female 3.5 jack input. Here we take the contact closest to the battery contacts, and we take the wires and we solder them on the terminals for the switch. Then you can prime the ends with a little bit of solder tin. So the wires have to go to the contact like this, right here, 1 to each terminal. Then we need our female jack, and here we need to know what pins to use. I know we have to use this ground pin, and then the pin all the way out on the end of the jack, which is this one. And then we just need to solder that on. So now the jack will be placed here, connected to the switch. Now we need the motor and the plate with the felt. We need the bottom and the 2 loose wires we still have left. These 2 wires need to be soldered to the terminals of the motor. So you can place it like this. Then you can attach the wires to the terminals, so they can be inserted into the terminals like this. The long wire can go to the bottom terminal, and the short wire can go to the top terminal closest to the bottom. And then we solder that on. Like so. Now everything is soldered and we need to test it. Here we need two AA batteries. We take the vibration plate and place it on top of the 3 pillars. Here we have the small hills, lumps, that we had to take care of when we put on the field. This needs to be in between the pillar. Then we can take it and turn it around and undo the screw. We then place the batteries inside, like so, and then we can press the 3 buttons and see if it vibrates. It works. This step can be skipped if you don't need the 0-1 input, but if you do, we need to take the shell of Rafle. We need a caliper. Here we need to measure 22 millimeters up from the bottom side of the shell and put a mark. So right here. Then we need a 6 millimeter drill bit and a drill machine like this. And then we need to drill a hole. Here you need to be careful that the drill is not slipping while drilling the hole. You can then take a sharp knife and clean the edges of the hole you just made. Then you will have a hole that looks something like this. This step is also skippable. Here we will mount the female jack connector into the shell of the automatic dice roller. We take the female jack, insert it in the hole we just made, like so. Then we take the screw that follows the female jack and screw it on. Here we need to make sure inside of the Rafle shell that the female jack is positioned horizontal, like so. Here you can then apply a little bit of super glue to make sure it stays in place. Only a tiny bit, because too much can go in and sit on the contacts and then you will have no connection. You can also apply a little dab on the screw outside to make sure nothing is moving out here also. Now we need to assemble Rafle. We have the shell that is attached with the female jack connector. If you don't have this step, you just need to put the shell on top. But here we have to be a little more careful with the wires. We need to bend them downwards so they do not interfere with the shaking plate. And then we need to make sure that we have the shaking plate with the hills across one of the support pillars. When you're sure you have that, you simply press it down and around until it snaps. And then everything is closed up with a nice finish down here. Now everything is assembled and we need to make sure we have the batteries in still, and then we can test it. We just press each button to make sure the vibration plate vibrates. Nice. Now when we know everything works, we can screw in the small screw. Here we just flip Rafle, take the screw and mount it. Like so. If you're unhappy with the amount the vibration plate vibrates, you can adjust the weight on the vibration disc. Here you need to disassemble the snap. You can use a knife and put pressure on the vibration plate so you create a small gap like this. Then you can place the knife and then you can open the gap up. This is also a little tricky, but it's doable. Then you can apply more weight to the vibration disc, or if some wires are squeezed, then you can adjust that. When you're happy about your assembled dice roller, you can take some dice, place them on the green felt, you can take the lid, and then you can start to play. Enjoy your game.